Well, good Friday evening, Mom. How are you today?
I'm just fine. I've been sitting watching movies and just trying to pass the time off.
Well, that's what Friday nights are for.
Oh yeah, it's just I'm glad to see Friday come though. When you work 5 days a week, why you're always glad to see Friday.
Glad to see the weekend. I'm sure Jesse and Chad are glad to see it too.
Oh yeah, they're happy to be with their two children, and that's what they do.
Did you notice I brought Champ and Layla treats?
Oh yes, you always bring them a treat, and to beat it all, you brought me a good lunch today, and I enjoyed that, and you're always doing something nice for people.
Well, tomorrow, when we get finished with this interview tonight, we'll talk about what we're going to have for tomorrow, what we're going to fix. I went to the grocery store so I can make anything you want.
Well, oh my goodness, you make so many good things, it's hard to choose.
Well, we'll talk about it when we get finished. If it's okay with you, I would like to talk to you about when I first opened my practice and how, Daddy had just passed away and you had retired early from the hospital. Well, it's not really early. You'd worked there for a long time, but you probably would have stayed had he not been sick. So I noticed one day I came home and you were at home. I'd never seen you sit down in a chair before. And you were sitting down in Dad's recliner or your recliner watching the news. I'd never seen you watch the news in my life. And he always watched the news. And you just completely changed. And that's when I said, Mom, I'm looking for a nurse. Do you know somebody that might want to work with me?
Yes, you did. And I told you, I said, I'd be happy to work with you.
It really didn't surprise me because you like to be involved in so many things, but in a way it overwhelmed me because, how do you pay your mother? You can't pay your mother. So you had the perfect solution.
Oh, I just wanted to be a volunteer. I didn't want any payday.
Well, and that's great because by you being a volunteer, it did not mess up your retirement because, you had worked at the hospital so long at Wellmont. So it didn't mess up your retirement. And that's the way it's been. You've been a volunteer, and I've been the same that I've always been to you. I've been a daughter that does things for you, and it kind of evens out for us.
Yes, it does. And I just enjoy it so much because you're really good to me, and I love to work with you.
Do you remember when we first started? We were just, I was trying to get my mission statement together. I had a lot of things to do. I was trying to get forms together for my patients. And basically for the people that don't know what it is that I do, you and we have medication counseling. We do drug evaluations, disease management. We help patients get on the right medications. Basically, our mission is to get patients on the least amount of medication for the maximum benefit and still target their diseases and symptoms.
Yes, that's exactly what we do, and I enjoy every minute of it.
So anyway, back to when we first started, I remember that until we had everything, everything worked out, we had the phone forwarded to your cell phone.
Yes, you did, and no matter where I was, in the grocery store or anywhere, I got calls and got patients, and I just answered the phone, and there was someone wanting to see her, and so I'd put it down and everything, and then we'd talk about it, and we would do it.
What really makes me sad in this practice is the patients that I don't get to see. Every time I ask you, why do I not get to see that patient, you give me the same answer. They pass away before they get to their appointment.
Yes, they do. They call me and say, do you know that so-and-so passed? And I'm so sorry that happens, but it happens many times.
Well, the patients that we see are people that have been around the block. They are patients that have been disheveled and they haven't gotten the care from the medical field that they really needed to have. They've just been shuffled around.
Yes, they have, and most of them are on the wrong medications, and it interacts with the other, and it just makes them so sick.
That's true, and also I know that we've seen a lot of patients that have certain disease states. Like one of the most common ones is fibromyalgia, and the medical field didn't even recognize fibromyalgia as a true disease state until on the medical board in 1987, I believe.
Yeah, that's true. That's when they found out that it was really a disease.
And, you know, a lot of people would tell patients that it was just in their head, they weren't really sick, and it was really sad because a lot of them ended up on medications they shouldn't have been on because no one could diagnose them correctly.
That is true. So when they came to us, you'd go through all their medications and their vitamins and everything, and you'd pick out the ones that interacts with the other. And in no time at all, that patient was getting better.
Gosh, we have so many stories. I don't even know where to start. Let's start with the one story. Do you remember the lady that came in that was severely agoraphobic, and she wouldn't even leave her bedroom? They would put her food in a plate under her door to eat, and the first day I met her, she had a toboggan pulled over her eyes when I met her in the lobby at our office. And I just saw her that one time, and I thought, well, okay, I'm going to do a follow-up with her. And then you remember the psychiatrist called me?
Oh, yes, I remember that. I felt so sorry for her, and I knew in my heart that you could help her.
Well, the psychiatrist called me, and she asked me if I would mind seeing this patient once a week. And I thought, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I do have a natural God-given bond for being able to talk with people. So I just made up this small, ridiculous fee so the lady could afford it. And also I wanted her to pay for it so that she'd feel good about herself. Because if you just keep giving to patients, they've got to feel good about doing their part.
Yes, they do. They feel better when they pay for a visit because I've always never had any fault with any of them. They always paid.
So anyway, she started seeing me once a week, and I saw her once a week for about 3 years. And now the lady is, she's a cosmetologist. She dresses like somebody that came out of Vogue magazine. Her marriage is back on track. She drives a car. Her husband told me that their marriage was back on track.
Oh, yes, she's so beautiful. I thought she was so pretty. But, when she finally came out of this and started dressing and wearing makeup and stuff, she looked so pretty.
And she's happy with herself. She's proud of herself.
Oh, yes, she is. She's so happy. She said that she could never thank you enough for what you did for her.
I have to tell you, if that's the only patient I ever had in my whole practice, then it was worth opening.
Yes, it was, and it just seemed like you never forget patients like that. I don't forget any of our patients, but she is one that really needed help.
Yes, and there's so many of them. I'll tell you another story. There's just so many. I'm trying to think of one of the best stories to tell. Now, here's an interesting story. I had a doctor send me a patient. He said it was a difficult case and wanted me to look into her medications, and I did. And she was taking a narcotic analgesic. She didn't want to be on it because it's not good for your liver, among other things, and it's addictive. And so he asked me to see what could I do to help manage her pain. Do you remember this one?
Yes, I do. I remember that patient very well.
Well, after I had went through, I won't go into details, but after I'd seen her the first time, the doctor called me back. He said, I want you to see her again. She's not improving. And I said, okay. So she came back, and we talked. And before she was leaving, something said to me, ask her what she does for a hobby. Do you remember this patient?
Oh, yes, I do. Very well.
So I said, do you mind telling me what you do for a hobby? And she said, well, I'm a gardener. And I said, really? I said, well, do you wear gloves when you're in the garden? And she said, no, I don't.
Oh, she said she didn't wear gloves, so that was her problem.
Exactly. So basically, the salicylates in the soil was getting absorbed into her skin, and it was making her, it was rendering her medication ineffective. So the medication that she was on is a drug that expels inorganic phosphates from the renal tubules, and she was not getting the desired effect from the drug because the salicylates in the soil was interacting. So, I just said, God solved that case, not me. He told me to ask her that question.
Oh yes, I remember that so well, and she got well fast, didn't she?
Yes, and she didn't have to take narcotic analgesics. You remember they did a big write-up on us in the paper.
Yes, they did. I remember that.
They called it something like solving medical mysteries or something.
Yes, that's what they call.
And Mom, I'm certainly not trying to toot our horn. I'm not. But just some things that come to my mind about accomplishments that you and I have made doing our work together. You and I have been together every day for way over 20 years, and this is after your career. So I remember when Representative Nathan Vaughn sent me that patient that was on 42 medications a day. You remember her?
Oh, yes, I do.
She literally was taken away and put into a home, like a home, and no one knew where she was. She was put into a facility. Everything was taken from her. Her family finally found her, brought her back from Knoxville, and Nathan Vaughn brought her to us, remember?
Yes, I remember that. And you helped her get better, and she did really well.
She went, long story short, she went from 42 drugs a day to 6 drugs a day.
Yes, she did. That woman was just really, really sick.
She was one of my favorite patients.
Yes, she was. I thought I really liked her.
And there's just so many. I'm trying to think of another one that we've had that sticks out in my mind. I remember one lady came to me, and she was addicted to narcotic analgesics. And you know what? That's not what we do. A lot of people think we do pain management. Yes, we do help manage people's pain in some cases based on what their problems are, but we are not a pain clinic. We're not a pain management, but I'm a medication management, disease management. So we help patients manage their medications and diseases, and pain goes along with that, but we are not a pain management clinic.
No, we're not. We just help with medications and things like that, but we have nothing to do with pain medications.
Do you remember, I'm going to tell you one story. You remind me, don't let me forget this, about the heart patient. You bring that up to me in a few minutes. Okay. So right now I'm going to tell you about the patient I was getting ready to talk about. There was a lady that came to me that was addicted to narcotic analgesics, and I told her, I said, listen, I can write a plan, we can do a taper schedule, we can do it really, really slow, and I can show you how you can get off of these medications. I said, according to your lab reports, your liver is shot. I wrote her doctor a letter. He wrote me back, and I told her, I said, listen, I'm not God, but I'm just going to tell you my professional opinion. I don't think you'll last over another year if you stay on this medicine. Her parents were in their 90s, and she was only in her 50s. Her doctor laughed and wrote me a letter back and said, this is laughable. She's going to stay on these pills. Now, most doctors work with me great, but this is just one that had a big ego. And, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. So, I don't care what somebody's degree is. We're all just people, and we're little people on the medical team. We all have our individual spots on the patient's medical team. So to make a long story short, she came back and she told me she was dying.
Yes, she was so scared, and she was just so sick, and she just said she wouldn't be here long.
I told her that she wanted me to go after the doctor that did this to her, and I said, listen, I can't do that. That's not what I do. I wrote a report. I wrote him a letter. I told you what should be done. I said, I'm not here to chase people that don't do the right thing. all I can do, it's just like a lawyer. They give you advice. It's up to you to take their advice. You don't have to. And I said, I cannot stand where you're at. I'm so sorry that this is happening to you. But you chose to continue to take this medication. You know, the doctor didn't ring her doorbell at night and stick it in her mouth.
No, that's true. That was her doings, and she should have took your advice and not did it.
Well, it may sound like I'm being cold by saying it. I'm not at all. I just was trying to get across to her that my method is not to go sue people and go after people. You know, she could have done that, but she would have been wasting precious time. But she did pass away, and her parents are still living in their 90s.
Oh yeah, her parents should have done something about that, but if I'd been her and I knew, I would have took your advice.
Well, the report was specific and detailed, but you know, when people are addicted to medications, the addiction is bigger than the person.
Yes, and if you're on the wrong medications and you don't get the right ones, well, it's going to affect your health.
Now let me go back to this other patient, the heart patient.
Yes.
A lady came to us. You remember the one that had the arrhythmias in her heart?
Yes, I remember her.
So she was referred to us, and I looked at everything that she was taking, and she had a lot of drug interactions.
Yes, she did. She had a lot of medication she were taking.
So I rearranged everything she had. I wrote her a great report and told her to get her physician's consent because she had so many different doctors. You know, I didn't want to step on their toes. And most doctors in different areas, they don't want to, like an internal medicine doctor doesn't want to step on the cardiologist's toes. And we all kind of respect each other's place in the patient's medical team. So anyway, I had rearranged her medicines and in the regimen, and also put her on a really rich fish oil. And her cardiologist called me. You remember that?
Yes, I do. I remember it well.
He called me and he said, "Are you sitting in a chair?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I want to tell you something. This lady I sent to you, she does not have to have that heart procedure."
Oh, that was wonderful. When I heard the news, I thought that was great.
That was something really just unbelievable. So she was thrilled. I was thrilled. And, you know, we can only give God the glory for that. So I'm really glad that we got to work with that patient too.
Yes, I am too. And that fish oil is really good for you.
Yes, it is, for lots of reasons. It's got cardioprotective effects. It also helps with your memory. And, of course, it helps lower cholesterol. So it's just got so many benefits. It also helps with some aches and pains because it has anti-inflammatory properties as well.
Yes, it does. I've taken it for a long time, and it sure makes you feel good.
It's kind of like giving the Tin Man a squirt of oil.
Yes, that's what it is. It just makes you feel better.
Now back to that patient that took the 42 pills a day and went down to 6. Do you remember when we wrote that medication counseling bill with Nathan Vaughn?
Yes, I remember that well.
It passed in May of 2003. It passed the House and it passed the Senate.
Oh, yes, and I was so happy for you and Nathan Vaughn that they passed that. That made me real happy.
That bill is framed in our office, and what the bill states is I wanted it to say will pay, but it passed as should pay. It says if a patient takes 6 or more medications, and they would like for someone that's credentialed to do the kind of work that I do to give the patient an evaluation, and that it should pay for the visit. So anyway, long story short, it passed as should pay, not will pay. I was disappointed, and Nathan Vaughn said, "How could you be disappointed? Most things hit the kitchen floor, not the Senate floor."
Oh, yeah, I remember him saying that. I thought that was funny.
So that was a really big deal. And I remember a lot of people that were in some of the associations that I were in, they asked me why I didn't get their help. And my honest answer, Mom, I didn't know I needed their help. Can you believe I said that?
Oh, yes, I can believe it.
Well, because you and Dad always raised me, if you need to do something, just do it. So I wasn't just going to sit around and look for some association to back me up.
I know, that's you. You don't do that.
But I think they wanted me to.
Yeah, I think so too.
And so, that's just a political thing, and I'm not really into politics.
No, but you should be.
Well, I'm into politics to the degree I want to be for now. Who knows later? I may want to do something with politics, but that's just really not on my agenda right now.
Oh, you're so good at what you do. I think I just keep on doing what you do.
Agree. So, we've had so many different patients. So the patient for Nathan Vaughn, that was another patient that I can honestly tell you, if that was the only patient we had, it was well worth it.
Oh, yes, it was. I'm just real happy about that.
There's another one that sticks out in my mind that I never got to see. A man came to see us with his daughter. Do you remember that the daughter was still crying over her mother passing away?
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And I asked the man, I said, if your wife passed away, how can I help you, sir? And he said, I want to tell you my story, and I want you to promise me that you will share my story with people that get in this situation. So I'm going to try to sum this up kind of fast, okay?
Okay.
Basically, the lady was going to get a job at a big company if she passed a physical. They showed that she had high cholesterol. They told her she was a time bomb for a heart attack. They put her on a cholesterol-lowering medication, and I'm definitely not going to say the name of it. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I remember it well.
And this is a true story. So if you love and know someone, you might want to just, check things out. Anyway, she came back 2 weeks, and she told the doctor, I don't feel well. So he did a liver enzyme test, and it showed that she was within normal limits. And he said, I want you to stay on that drug, remember?
Yes, I remember it.
So she came back 2 weeks later and said, Doctor, I'm really sick. I just don't feel good. And he told her, he said, you've got to stay on this medication because we've got to get your cholesterol down.
Yes, she told us all that, what he said.
Well, he told us. She had passed away.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, the last 2 weeks, she came back to that doctor again, and she looked at him and she said, I feel like I'm going to die. And she literally went home and died.
Yes, she did. I was so sorry about that. It hurt me very much.
So her husband said, my wife died within 6 weeks from taking this medication that lowers cholesterol. And he said, I want you to promise me that if you have patients that have these symptoms that my wife had, I want you to tell them the story. It doesn't mean they have exactly what she has, but I want to share the story because it might save a life.
Yes, it will. If you do that and take them off of it if they don't need it, well, it would save their life.
Well, here's something that happened. So basically, here's what I explained to the man. Your wife died within 6 weeks. Her, what we call arthralgia, myalgia, myopathy, was basically irreversible. And the only way that you know it's irreversible is because she died within a short amount of time, like 6 weeks.
Yes, that's true.
So then I had another patient that took the same drug, a cholesterol-lowering agent. It was exactly the same drug. And basically, she had numb toes. And she said, well, don't worry, my doctor's giving me shots. And I was like, what? She said, he's giving me shots in the feet. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh, I felt so sorry for her because she had to take shots in her feet like that.
And she was very athletic. So I told her, I said, I believe this drug right here is what's causing your problems. And so she talked to her doctor, got off of it, got on some other things to lower her cholesterol, and I helped her with it. And it took a solid year, but every week, every month, for up to 2 years, she got improvement.
Yes, she did, and finally she got completely well.
Exactly. So the difference is the other patient that died in 6 weeks, it just goes to show you that the damage it did to her was not reversible, whereas the other patient had been on the drug for a couple of years And it was reversible because she didn't die very quickly.
That's true.
So, the side effects that drugs cause, they affect people in different ways.
Yes, they do. One person can take one drug and another can take it, and it'll make them sick, and that's just the way it goes.
A lot of people don't know the difference, but a side effect is when you take a drug and it's a trade-off. Example, well, I'm going to take this allergy pill. I know it's going to make me drowsy, but it's going to help my allergies. Now, that's a trade-off.
Yes, that is.
An adverse effect is when you take a drug and it affects you adversely.
Yes, that's so. Mm-hmm.
So a side effect and an adverse effect is not the same thing. An adverse effect is not something that's a trade-off for you. And it makes me think of this other patient, Mom. Do you remember that patient that came in that had bruises on her legs and arms the size of a football?
Oh, yes, I remember her very well.
And I asked her, I said, can I see what you're taking? She said, well, I only take one drug. It's this one right here.
Oh, yes. I don't remember the drug.
Well, I looked at her, and on the bottle, she said, she took her index finger and pointed on the label. She said, you see, it says take until all gone.
Oh, gosh, she took the whole bottle.
Well, not at one time, but she didn't stop. And I said, take till all gone, does that mean you or the medicine?
Oh, my goodness.
So she kept taking this medication even though it was affecting her adversely because the label said take until all gone.
That shouldn't be wrote like that, should it?
Well, sometimes people will put take until all gone on a label because if a person doesn't finish an antibiotic, then it can make their infection, it can turn it into a superbug. So they do have reasons why they put take until all gone. Sometimes people save antibiotics like a tetracycline. You don't ever want to save that because if you take that medicine and it's old, it'll kill you.
Oh, yes, that medication is bad.
If you take it when it's old.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, I made a joke out of it to that lady. I said, take until all gone. Does that mean you or the medicine?
Oh, my goodness.
Because she looked like she was about all gone.
Oh, yes, bless her heart. She just didn't know how to take her medications.
Now, I remember one time I had a friend that was a business associate, and he was in a meeting, and his daughter came to me, and she showed me the medication that her father took, and I knew he was allergic to phosphates. Do you remember this patient?
Yes, I do.
Well, I told her, I said, where is he? She said, well, he's in a meeting. I told her, get in the car. She got in the car as fast as she could, and I gave her Benadryl right out of, I had a box of Benadryl, never been opened. I said, take this to your dad, have him chew up 2 of these right now. And let me tell you, when she got to him, Mom, she had to drive like 20 minutes to get to him. Oh. She just bursted into a meeting that he was a financial advisor. She walked right into the middle of the meeting, and he was just bending over at the table. He was just about to start turning blue.
Oh, she got there just in time.
Well, the people in the room with him didn't even know what was wrong with him.
Oh, they didn't, did they?
No, that he had gotten medication that he wasn't supposed to have. It had phosphates in it.
Oh, yes, you should always read what's in that medication before you take it.
Well, if you know you have an allergy like that,
yeah.
You've got to do your research because you can't always rely on somebody else to do it for you.
That is true.
I tell you, I've told a lot of stories. I don't know if, is there any that you can think of, any more that you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered about everything that I can think of.
Well, these are just some stories that came to my mind. And back to the fibromyalgia patients, I can tell you this much. That's one of those diseases, you don't know if the disease is causing low serotonin or the low serotonin is causing the disease. It's kind of like, is it the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, that's true. You never know.
But basically, there's a lot of things you can do to get a fibromyalgia patient managed to where they have less fibrofog, where they can't think well, and also less flare-ups where they are in such terrible pain. it makes some of them bedridden for several days.
Yes, I know people has that. It's just miserable, and they stay miserable about all the time.
I'll tell you something else. We've helped a lot of patients that had migraines that were unexplainable.
Oh, yes, we have. We've had lots of patients like that you've helped.
And you know what? I found one thing that really helps these patients, if they get the right combination of B vitamins, that really helps with migraines.
Yes, it does. It really does. If you take that, ever how much you supposed to, maybe daily or whatever.
Mom, I can't believe it's almost 9 o'clock. Not that that's late, but we're usually not doing our talk. We started late tonight, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We started late.
And you know what? I feel really bad. This is your podcast, and I'm doing all the talking.
Well, that's okay. I love to hear you talk about the medications because you know so much about them, and I can learn more hearing you talk about them.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You are the best nurse I've ever known in my life, and you can take blood pressures and hear things in a person's heart that most people that have been practicing a long time, even cardiologists, have told me that they just can't believe what kind of a cardiac nurse you are.
Well, I have 100% hearing. There's nothing wrong with my hearing. and I really am thorough when I check a patient.
Yes, you are, Mom. I just love it when those patients come in and you do their vitals, and you've just got them so relaxed, and they're laughing, and you make them happy.
Oh, I try to. That's the way you should do. You should always be friendly and nice and to a patient. It makes them feel good.
I'll tell you what really made me laugh is that time. You remember you and I put that sign up that said, I can't remember exactly what it says, where you take vital signs. It says they'll have to pay 5 cents if they start whining.
No, $5.
Oh, $5 if they start complaining.
If you whine, you have to pay $5.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
Them patients, they really did they'd laugh their head off. They said, "Boy, I'm going to start smiling." I said, "You better."
That's hilarious, yeah. Mom. Well, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate everything that you've done. This practice is not mine; it's ours.
Okay, yes, I feel that way too, and I love every minute of working with you.
Do you know that everybody that comes into the practice, the office, they really come there to see you. You're right there at that front desk. You're the first person they see, and you really make them happy.
Oh, I try to. If they come in sort of frowny or something, I'll always, cheer them up before they leave.
I'll tell you something else, too. I'll never forget. All your sticky notes you give me, oh, my goodness. I could wallpaper a wall.
Yeah, I write everything down because there's so much stuff to remember, and I just put it on a sticky note and just give them out to the people that call.
Yeah, you stick them on me.
Yeah, I do.
You stick them all over me, and I love it. I've got 1 million of your sticky notes, and they make me laugh.
Yeah, I write a lot of those sticky notes.
We were in we first started our practice on Eastman Road, and we were there probably a year, and then we bought the building on Center Street downtown at 1000 East Center Street. We were there 16 years.
Yes, we were, and I loved every minute of it.
I did too, and then we just kind of didn't need all that space anymore, so then we found a great office downtown on Broad Street, and it's really a beautiful office, and we've really remodeled it. It looks great, doesn't it?
Well, your office is absolutely beautiful.
And I've probably went over the top with it, but you know what? I want patients to come in there and feel very relaxed and just really enjoy their visit.
Oh, yes. I love a really nice, pretty office. And it sure is pretty where we are now.
And it's a relaxed atmosphere.
Yes, I heard somebody say that it was so relaxing. I think it was the lady that came in see, what was her name? I can't think of it. But she said she could just sit down and go to sleep.
Oh, she was my state board inspector.
Yeah,
the state board inspector. She said, this office is so relaxing. It could be psychiatrist office.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah, I remember that now. Well, there's so many people come in and brag on the place and say, oh, it's so beautiful all through here, in your office and all state and all those. They think they're just great. So, everybody says something nice when they come in.
Mom, I just want to tell you, I didn't even know what we were going to talk about tonight, really. And I've really enjoyed talking about this, but, I want you to talk more. And, I've talked more about these patients.
Well, you need to talk more because I learned a lot from you and about your medications and your patients and all that. I know, but I just love to listen to you.
You're the reason that I even wanted to study what I studied in school. I went to college 10 years and got my doctorate. And, you're the reason that I wanted to study drugs.
Oh, yes. I thought, it's really a great job and knowledge to study drugs and know what they'll do for you. And it's just great.
Even if I didn't practice, just the knowledge about drugs, it's very fascinating.
Yes, it is. That's I know you enjoy every minute of it.
And, chemistry, for some reason, I did great in chemistry and math and biochemistry, all that stuff. It just seems like it was just, natural.
Yes, it does. It's just so for you to be what you are today, and you do a great job at it, I think.
And, on another talk, what we'll do is we'll talk about the other side of our life, the creative side, the fact that we write books.
Oh, yeah, those books are wonderful, and I know you'd enjoy reading them. I read them over and over, and the little kids do, too. We have a child's books and then the grown-ups, and they're just wonderful to read.
Well, we'll get into that whenever you want to. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, Mom. It is to go down memory lane about our practice. Wow, it just blows my mind. I'm so honored that you just did this with me. You helped me create something that didn't even exist. You helped me create it, and it's just amazing.
Oh, I enjoy every penny of it, and I hope that we continue doing it for a long time.
Well, thank you, Mom, and I hope you have a great night.
Well, you too, and I love you a lot, and I'll see you later, and bye for now.
I love you too, Mom. Bye for now.